Hello y'all on YouTube, this is Rob with Rob's Nerdy Knives. Today I have a very interesting review, impressions of a knife I've had for a while that I've really enjoyed. This is the Chavez Rendition 229 Kickstop. This is the plain titanium and it is in a satin finished hollow grind, dual grind. It's called a drop point. It's really not a Tanto. This is the drop point version, but that dual grind makes it look like a Tanto, but there's no point. It's definitely rounded. It's got a nice swedge up here. This is M390 blade steel. And you notice the kickstop, that's a, I believe Lee Williams. Yeah, Lee Williams design. Can you see that? Lee Williams. And this right here is the Chavez, so that's really cool. This is made by Riot very nicely. I don't have the skull clip. It has a really cool skull clip, and you may enjoy that. I decided to go for this because the skull clip was a little wider, and it was ripping the snot out of my pants, and I needed something I could carry regularly, and I really enjoy carrying this knife. And I'll tell you a little bit about some things that I did to make this more enjoyable. The clip normally is very, very flat and sharp, and it was very steep angle coming out, so it ripped my pants as I pulled it out. And I had a Chris Reeve Umnumzon that I enjoyed a lot, but it destroyed 3 pairs of jeans, and I just didn't feel like, you know, a knife shouldn't cost me hundreds of dollars in jeans, right? So I decided to fix that. So I took the clip off and I put it on a belt sander. I had a Ken Onion Work Sharp belt sander, and I had the attachment, and I took this clip and taped it up and everything, and then exposed this part. And I don't know if you can tell, but it's really rounded right now, rounded really well, and it's polished in there, and it goes in and out of the pocket really nicely now. And it's almost a little rounded here as well. I don't know if we can see that. Can we get a little bit? Maybe we can see it from here, where it's kind of rounded this way, and so it's rounded this way, and if you look this way, you'll see it's more rounded this way. This angle is not as steep as well. So that's why I'm using this one. This one is less pressure, less grabbing my clothes, and it was nicer. But it's also, you know, as much as I think the skull clip is cool, and yeah, maybe I'll work on that clip and do all this stuff that I did to it, and then I'll put it on and carry it. I wanted to try on this one because in case it didn't work and it was an abysmal failure, I could still sell the knife with the skull clip for those who just love the skull clip. You know, at least I wouldn't lose a bunch, right? That was my idea. But it turned out really well, so I liked it. I love this kickstop. This kickstop, it basically has another pivot in here, and there's washers on there, and this little piece hits the blade, and because here's the pivot and it's above the pivot, there's leverage. It gives it a very sharp, nice snap of a deployment. It actuates the knife really, really well. And the cool thing about that kickstop, you can see down here, you see how that moves in and out? That's what the kickstop is. It's free floating and it's on washers, but this knife is on Cade ceramic ball bearings, and I actually replaced them with skiff washers, and that made it even nicer. Now the detent was really tight on this, which is fine if you really like strong detents. Definitely something to consider, and we can talk about that more in the design down the road near the end of the end of this section of the review. But right now I just want to talk about the materials. So there are Cade ceramic ball bearings, skiff washers were put in there. Titanium. Now, if you can notice, there's no milling, so it's got some weight. It's a big boy. It's definitely heavy. It's not a short knife. Does give it some weight. Now, one thing that it did come with, there was a lot of sharp corners all around this knife, and that almost ruined it for me because I've had knives, like I had a giant mouse knife that I really enjoyed, but it was too sharp and it started giving me blisters and literally cut the blisters, so I was like, I can't use this. So I rounded the corners here and here, and made a huge difference. The knife is just fantastic, really much more comfortable. These corners aren't digging in as much. I mean, they're not perfectly smooth, but they're just like you worn down after you've carried the knife for a while, and that took that sharpness away. And to me, that was really, really helpful. Let's talk a little bit about it. So it is a frame lock. You can see that, and it locks up pretty high on the frame up here. We are at probably a good 20%, I'm gonna say, maybe 20, yeah, about 20% I would say, maybe 25% lockup on this. It does have a steel bar insert, so it's steel to steel, and it's an over travel stop as well, even though the clip is here to help with that. These are all T8 hardware all the way around. It's all T8, including the clip, so that's really nice. Easy for taking it apart and things. Like I said, the detent was really strong. We'll talk a little bit about how I adjusted that and why I adjusted it and why I like the fact that I adjusted it. The blade grind is a hollow grind here. It's a flat grind up here. We talked about it being a dual compound grind. I love the fact that we've got, you know, an angle here for the satin finish. You got an angle this way, and you got an angle that's up. I mean, those look the same, but they're not exactly in line. One's a little this way and one's this way, so it's a little different angle. And this one is perpendicular to everything except for this one. So I think that's cool. It's got some huge jimping up on top. That's definitely very aggressive. Will work. It is almost sharp, so you got to be careful, but if you're up here, you're probably pushing down hard and you'll be okay, but if your hand starts to slide back and forth, it will rip into you. You might need some gloves for that. I like the fact that there's no flipper here. It allows you to choke up on this, so you can choke up here safely with this jimping. You're not going to slide. Your other finger can really lock you in here from coming forward. If you're wanting to try that, just be careful, because there's no finger choil, and there's really no sharpening choil, which I know for a lot of people it's going to be a huge disappointment. You could probably put one in there, I would imagine. Let's see, does it, yeah, there's nothing, it's not using this to, and there's the M390, by the way. It's not using this, there's no stop pin touching on here, so you could put a sharpening choil in there if you wanted to, right? But you can choke up on this. I like that, especially if you want to do more precision cut up here, right? So that's nice. Beautifully sharp edge. I like the fact it wasn't a really short edge, and it was relatively consistent on both sides. I thought that was nice. A lot of chamfering all the way around, which I thought was nice, except for the sharp corners, but those can be buffed out, and I think it's worthwhile. It's really simple to do. You don't have to go crazy on it, right? It makes it a huge difference. The frame lock, there's good cut out here. You got good access. You can see that. There's some jimping on here. So there's some chamfering on here on the frame lock, on the lock bar. So that's nice, easy access. It's not sharp. It's very comfortable to get to, and it drops really nicely. So when you flip it and you get here, you're not going to be tired digging in, getting blisters, because it's made for like super thin, skinny little fingers. If you've got big, meaty fingers like me, you definitely can get in there. So that's nice. I have medium, large hands. They're definitely large widthwise, medium lengthwise. And when I choke up here, I got plenty of room. I think an extra large, double extra large hands like this. And if you even choked up, you could have like massively triple X, maybe 4X extra large hands could hold this nicely. It does feel very substantial. It's got some nice weight. I like the weight on this knife. The balance is going to be right back here, so it does feel more balanced right here, unless you're choking up, right? This clip, I think, I can't remember if I chamfered this part as well. No, I don't think I did. I think chamfered. Goodness. Yes, chamfered. Sorry, I don't know, rounded it. I guess it would be more the term. It's not really, there's not a flat edge here, so more rounded. I didn't do that. I think it came like that, and that was another thing that I thought was nice, and there's nothing that digs in, so it's very comfortable. This fits really well. Nice groove for your hands. Works really well. The closing is really nice with everything. So we'll talk a little bit more about what I really like about the closing as well. All right, so let's go ahead and do some measurements. Let's get the weight on the knife here. Oh, we're in grams. Let's get over to ounces. All right, so let's go ahead and measure this. This is a 6.61 ounce knife. It is not a light knife. It's got some weight to it, and I like it. If you were looking for a nice light carry, this is not it. Okay, I'll just tell you right up front, yeah, this is not a light carry, but it is a substantially cool knife with the weight. Let's go ahead and measure the length on this thing. All right, so going from here to the end, we're looking at a knife that's about 8 1/4 inches total length. The handle length right here, you got about a little over 4 and I'd say 1/8 inch. If you choke up all the way up to this choke up point, probably got about 4.5 inches. So that's pretty good, gives you a little extra room. The total blade length we're looking at here to the base, we're just over 3.5 inches. I want to say 3 and maybe 5/8 inches total from the tip to the handle. If you want to talk about actual cutting length, and usually you measure that from the tip to here, we are looking at, from my angle, what I see is about 3 5/8 again, 3 5/8 total length, but it does belly up here with that drop point, so that, you know, gives you some extra cutting and definitely some nice cutting. And the edge, like I said, it's a hollow grind, and so when you come down, it's pretty thin edge, which is nice. It makes this edge really work well. Let's go ahead and look at the blade stock thickness, because it's big, it's thick. So let's see what we're looking at here. All right, so the measurements on this, it's going to be 161 thousandths of an inch, so it's 0.1605 or 0.161 inches. So it's definitely over, it's between 1/10 and 2/10 of an inch, but closer to 2/10, just barely. So it's a thick blade. And that's part of it, what gives it kind of that nice feel and really allows it to drop shut really well. All right, so what category is this in? This knife is over $400, so this is definitely going to be in the high-end category. It's less than $600, so it's definitely not in the custom, semi-custom, mid-tech range, but this is definitely a high-end knife, and it feels it too. Riot did a great job on this knife. So what is this used for? I would say EDC hard use. You could absolutely use this for hard use. There's variants of this that have Damascus and some fancy Damasteel, so you could definitely get really fancy versions where maybe you might not want to do EDC or hard use. Excuse me. It's a little late and I'm trying to get a review in here, so before I go to bed. You know, so definitely could be hard use, but it could be really a collection piece depending on which variant you get, because some of them have some beautiful fat carbon. The one I got is a plain Jane one. I like this. This is kind of what I wanted because I wanted to use it. If you get some of those fancy ones, you might not want to use it. And it's just for me. You do you, and I'll do me. But the knives I buy, I use, and if I don't use them, I sell them because I like to carry my knives, and that's why even if I get a nicer knife, it's going to be something I want to carry it. Now, I may not go out and try to, you know, cut down a tree or something with it. This knife probably could do it, but I wouldn't do that, especially with a frame lock. I would do that with a fixed blade or an axe. You know, use the right tool. But this is definitely a usable tool, and I've carried this and I've enjoyed opening boxes, breaking down boxes, opening Amazon boxes, opening letters. It works really nicely. So I would say it's definitely EDC for me, and it definitely could be hard use. Not like bushwhacking crazy hard use, but I think I could really bring it, you know, take it through its paces and you know, breaking down boxes, cleaning out the garage, all sorts of stuff. But because it's a nicer higher end knife, I probably would have a 5th pocket knife with me if I carry this somewhere, just in case, because I just wouldn't want to have to destroy a nice knife like this. Like I said, it could be a collection piece. That's up to you. If you want it to be a collection piece, make it so. Because there's some fancy ones out there that probably would be worthy of that. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the ergonomics and feel. The design, I love the design. I wanted to get a Chavez, and none of them really appealed to me because it had a weird goofy flipper or a thumb stud. And then when it opened, it had this like, I don't know, just looked weird. It looked like a upside down part of an upside down shark whose fin was on the wrong side. I didn't care for that. And you know, no offense, if you love the knife, that's awesome. It just wasn't my cup of tea. But this one really, I mean, this is just a sexy knife. I like it. And everybody kept talking about, oh, the kickstop. The kickstop is so great, so great. You got to try it. And I was like, oh, this sounds like a bunch of hoo-ha, right? Well, no, I was wrong. It is amazing. It is really phenomenal. I don't like knives with a single method of deployment, and it better be an awesome method of deployment. Well, this is, and it works. And yeah, there you go. So I'm going to tell you that, being that it's a flipper only, it's okay. It really is. It is a phenomenal flipper, and it's absolutely worth it. So I give it, you know, super kudos for the way they implemented this. That Lee Williams design is fantastic. I love it. All right. The design as well, nice chamfering all the way around. I really do like that. I love the cutaway to the lock bar on the frame lock. That's really nice. I love the fact that I can choke up. The chimping works. It's a little aggressive. It could, you know, be trouble if you're doing a whole lot of stuff. You might want to put a glove on or cover your thumb. But, you know, everything is really nice. I love the clip like this after I modified it. So what I did is I put Skiff cage ceramic ball bearings, made it a little smoother. I chamfered or softened, rounded the corners. There was edges here, here, and here, and those were really the biggest point of contention for edges, because this edge would dig in here, and it would dig in when I'm over here, and then down here, this would dig in, you know, whether, you know, if I'm like closing, doing different things. But I softened all those corners, and it was absolutely worth it. Excuse me, I am sorry, another yawn there. What else did I do? I did that, and then oh, and I rounded the clip. That was really huge. Oh, and I did loosen up the detent a little bit. It was really strong detent, and I mean so strong that this heavy, and this is a big blade, it wouldn't drop. It was literally, it wasn't even control drop. It was just like stuck. You would have to shake it to get it down. A blade this big and this heavy should be able to drop shut just for the weight alone. But notice I didn't do a whole bunch. It's a very controlled stop. It's almost what you get out of really nice high-end custom knives, so that control shut and control stop. So I feel like that was like almost the perfect shot of a B tuning a detents. Like I felt like this was one of the better ones, because when it drops, it doesn't just guillotine. It literally is pretty controlled going down. And that I think is outstanding. And I think if you can do that, maybe your knife is already like that, then you're in good shape, right? But if you're willing to tune your detent, this would definitely be a knife worth doing that on. Opening and closing. The kick stop is a banger. It's awesome. It's phenomenal. Absolutely worth it. Makes this knife, I love it. The single deployment method, it's okay. I'm all right with it. Big kudos because the way it does it and how it does it and how well it does it. So the closing is awesome. Once I tuned the detent, it's beautiful. It's a very controlled close. I love the sound because you hear the clicky clicky in here, because there's, like I said, this is loose. Once it's in between the section, you can see that it's loose, and there's little bitty phosphor bronze washers in there. And so it moves on that. And so, you know, you're going to hear that. And I like it. Part of me being a little OCD at first, I thought, man, what is that? Is something wrong? Well, once I took it apart and I did that, I was like, that's fine, because that's the way it works. It's kind of like, you know, it's leverage. That's what it's implementing, leverage and sort of a pulley. I don't know, a pulley, but you know, sort of the torque on the lever. So that I like that. And if I'm getting super nerdy here, I apologize, but I really enjoy that. And it's really fantastic. Now, if you don't like big knives, you don't like heavy knives, you're probably already done. You're probably already tuned out. Or if you didn't know, then you might want to tune out, because if you're totally against that, you know, that's not going to be that. But if you're willing to, if you like it enough and you think, well, maybe I want to try it, even though I'm not into that, I think you'll like it. I wasn't really into it. And once I got it, I was like, wow, that's awesome. That really is awesome. So opening closing is phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. Definitely worth buffing this out. You don't need to have a Ken Onion belt sander to do that. If you have a sharpening stone or something like that, you have something, a piece of sandpaper, you know, put it on a flat surface, you could kind of roll that around a little bit just to get that nice and rounded. And once you've done that, if it's coarse, then you can run it on like jeans or some clothing or some burlap or, you know, a potato sack or something, and that would kind of soften it a little bit. It'd be kind of like a coarse polish on there. So I definitely would recommend that, because it makes the knife so much more enjoyable, especially if you'd like to fidget with it, which I do. And this is very fidgety, and we're going to talk a little bit about the fidget factor. On a scale of 1 to 10, I would never give a single deployment method a good score for the way it deploys. Scalability for the way it flips, you know, this by all rights should be a 3 or 4, but because it's a kickstop, because of the cool design, and because the way it works, and because how nicely the lock bar is, I gotta give this, I know it sounds like I'm breaking the rules, but I gotta give this a 6, maybe a 7, almost a 7, because it's done so well. The fidget factor, the kickstop, the design is just outstanding. I wanna give it a higher mark, absolutely a higher mark. So there's that. I just wanna let you know that. That's kind of where I stand on that. So I'm gonna give it a 6, maybe 6.5. How about a 6.5? Because this is implemented so well. Everybody said, oh, it's great. Yes, they're right. Everyone is right. It is absolutely phenomenal. If you didn't know, it is. It is. If you're not willing to buy it until you try it, go to a knife store that has a kickstop, especially at Chavez. Oh my gosh, you're gonna love it. It's really great. So yeah, I love it. I'm hyping it up because I really do enjoy it. So fidgety goodness out of that 6.5, 100%. I'd give it 110%. Probably 120%. So, you know, knock that 6.5 up to almost an 8, just because it is that good. I recently did a review of the F22 by Jared Orser, and that also has the Lee Williams kickstop on it as well. Really cool knife, and the kickstop really makes that knife way better than I think I would have normally liked it, and so it definitely helped. But that kickstop compared to this kickstop, no, this one is the king. This is the best kickstop experience I have had yet to date. I'm hoping there's something better. That would be awesome. I'd love to have this blown away, because it would be amazing if it blew this away. Because this right here is pretty freaking awesome. It really is. It's super awesome. I love it. Yeah, I mean, you know, it may sound like I'm a little over the top, but it's worth it. I mean, I gotta say, I really enjoy it. So overall thoughts, final thoughts, recommendation. Absolutely 100% recommended knife. Recommend it. I think if you get a chance to get one of these, you should. Whether you get it in the Black G10, whether you get the carbon fiber or the fat carbon fiber, or you get the Timascus, or you get the Damasteel, whatever you get, I think this is absolutely a recommended knife. I really enjoyed this. I think it's a great knife. I think it's definitely worth. It's not a knife just, I mean, it's great to have in your collection if you want to have one in your collection. If you're the kind of person that would buy something and you'd never carry it, great. If you would buy one and collect it, maybe have a second one to carry, do that. Get yourself that Damasteel Timascus, whatever super fancy one from Crane's Cutlery or other places, and then get yourself just a plain Jane one like this and carry it away. It's a great, useful, fun knife. I really have enjoyed this knife a lot. So it's highly recommended. Absolutely going to be in my recommended knife. It's going to be in my recommended higher end knives. No questions asked. And by the way, when I tune this detent, the drop action is just so controlled and so perfect. I really, every time I use this, I always kind of, it's so good that it almost surprises me every time. Even though I know exactly what it's going to be like, it still surprises me because it's that good. I don't know. I don't know if I can explain that to you. And it makes me want to carry it all the time, but then also not carry it too much, because I don't want to burn out on this knife. I want to keep enjoying this knife. So I carry it for a little bit and then I put it away because I enjoyed it so much and I want to anticipate enjoying it again. You know, I've had knives that I've really had enjoyed like that, and then I carried too much, and after a while, I was like, I don't want to carry anymore. I don't want to get to that with this knife. Now, fortunately, I'm at a point where I've got a lot of great knives in my collection, and I'm very grateful for that. And I have a lot of options that I enjoy, genuinely enjoy carrying. I'm at a point where I have knives in my collection I want in my collection. Earlier in my collecting and learning and stuff, I had a lot of knives that I got because people said I should get these. And they weren't knives I really enjoyed and maybe necessarily enjoyed carrying and collecting. But I had them because I felt like that's the knife you got to have, not this. This is one that I enjoy, I want to carry, and I will keep on carrying because I just enjoy it. So yeah, it's fun to be at that point where I can switch it out so I don't burn out on this one, because I don't want to burn out. Not that I would burn out, I don't want to lose the excitement and joy I get every time I pull this knife out and I carry it. It's fun, right? It's fun to carry this knife. So, and I like that. I like the ability to be able to switch out the knives and have that enjoyment in knives. That's why part of the reasons why I do collect my knives and have collections like this. Now, like I said, I rotate out through all of them. If there's some I don't, they will go for sale. Matter of fact, I'll be selling some very shortly. So there you go. So that's my recommendation. I think it's absolutely recommended. I think it's going to be great for even larger hands, for different people. Like I said, if the sharp edges and all that stuff bother you, very easy fix. Sandpaper. I used a belt sander. That made it super easy for me because I could just, I could cover all this, take the blade apart. You could just kind of round it a little bit like that, and then you can go over here and you can round it a little bit like that, and that takes care of that. And well, I would have to take it off for these things, right? But you can round that, and then you could do this back here. You could do it like that, and you can do it like that on the belt sander, just kind of roll it around. And it's very minimal. And if you look at this, even though it's got this beautiful stone washed finish on the handle and a satin finish on the blade, it looks like it's just been worn from being in my pocket and stuff like that. Being in my pocket. Boy, I'm starting to sound like Forrest Gump there. Sorry. Being in my pocket. I am from Texas, so you got to cut me some slack, right? But I do like that a lot. I think that's pretty cool. Yeah. So I think it's definitely worth considering. If you had it, you didn't like it because of sharp edges, it's so easy to fix. If you didn't like the clip, it's pretty easy to fix. That one may be a little more adventurous for some people. It might be a bigger challenge, but I think it's doable if you're willing to try it. Definitely get some masking tape, blue painter's tape, whatever, wrap everything around except for the stuff that you want to polish. Definitely worth it to me. If I was going to say a criticism, I wish they did a little better rounding on the clip so it wasn't such a destroy the pockets. I wish they would soften these corners because they're pretty sharp for a knife this price. that would be nice. I do wish that the detent wasn't super, super strong. Some people are going to love it, but it was on the ridiculous side of strong, right? I would have called it very high detent. Extremely strong, at least on the knife I had. Maybe other knives, it was much better, but this one was ridiculous because I'd drop it like this and it would be stuck, and I would have to really shake it to get it to drop. And I thought, yeah, it seems a little bit, and that almost made me think, should I even keep it? Well, once I did all that, yeah, I love it. It's fun. The other thing I think is if they could soften these edges a little bit. I don't like chamfering and messing with the blade itself. That gets into an area where I just don't want to mess with that, because if I scratch the blade, you know, it can be really annoying, because I'm okay if I scratch it because I used it, and I think I used it here, and I've got some rub mark here for something when I must have cut a box or something. I don't know. I don't care. That's fine to me, but it's a whole nother thing if I scratch it and it's very noticeable because I screwed up. I don't want to do that. So there you go. All right. Well, hey, you have any questions about this review, impressions? Please let me know in the comments down below. If you have any questions about future reviews, things you'd like to see, please let me know as well. If you have any questions for me or the channel, please let me know. I do try to read all the comments and do try to reply to them as best I can, especially where the channel is right now. I still have time for that. If you have any ideas, recommendations for future reviews, or if you have any ideas for Rob's Ramblings, please let me know down below. I'd love to hear from you, and I would love to maybe look at doing that. Hey, if you enjoyed this content, you found it fun, interesting, worthwhile, or entertaining, would you please consider hitting that like button down below? And if you've hit that like button, would you please consider hitting the subscribe button? Subscribing and liking the videos really helps out the channel, allows the channel to grow, be able to do more things, more content, do more things for y'all and everything. And if you've done that, maybe consider hitting that notification button so you can be notified, that's down below, of future content. Hey, and if you haven't had a chance, maybe check me out over on Instagram at, again, on Instagram at robs_nerdy_knives. Again, that's on Instagram at robs_nerdy_knives. Hey, thanks so much for watching today. Have a great day and a great week. Bye.